First time doing this, y'all, so bear with us. But I'm excited to introduce our next Voices of ADOS interview is with none other than our fearless leader of ADOS Columbus, Mark Stevenson. Mark has been a strong advocate for ADOS. He's been featured in several articles, including the New York Times, the Columbus Dispatch, and he is featured on Medium, where he is self-published. Born and raised in Georgia. What part of Georgia are you in?
Augusta, Georgia.
Born and raised in Augusta, Georgia, he comes from a long line of activists, as his mother was a Panther. He now resides with his family in the outskirts of Columbus, Ohio, where he has created an ADOS chapter in Columbus, Ohio. Over the course of our first year, he has led town hall meetings, candidate discussions, and campaign for candidates that support a Black agenda. So we welcome you, Mark Stevenson, to the Articles of ADOS podcast. And we've been wanting to do this for weeks now, but because of the COVID shutdown, we didn't know how this was work. We would work, and I didn't like Skype, So finally Zoom emerged, and we were able to get you invited onto the show. And so with the interview, myself, Daoud, will ask questions, and if there's follow-up questions, that's fine. We'll keep going and just have a conversation. But my first question is, Columbus, Ohio is really like a assimilated city. Like once we integrated. A lot of the Black residents are somewhat pacified. And so unlike Cincinnati and Cleveland, they have a lot more unrest there. They rioted there a couple of times. So we're pretty quiet in Columbus as far as outrage and activism. So what made you start an ADOS chapter here in Columbus?
Well, thank you for having me on. I love what y'all are doing with this podcast. What I saw when I decided to get involved in like activism here in the area was a pacification. I never had been around like a city that had Black folks, especially descendants of slaves living in it, and they're not that vocal in activism. And Columbus kind of reminded me, before I moved to the area, I was living on the outside of Philadelphia. And it kind of reminded me of being up there, where you had pockets of areas that were like dealing with a lot of crime, dealing with poverty, and then you had the overall shadow of the city that was thriving. And when people came to see it, they saw one part of the city and they didn't see the other side. So I think in cities that are like that, Black people particularly get the bad end of the stick, because if you're from out of town and you come to Columbus and you drive in, you see downtown and you're like, oh shoot, man, this is a thriving liberal city, is economically established, the median income is pretty high. Everybody's got to be doing well here. You see a bunch of houses, and then you start making your way down I-71, and then you make a trip off of Indianola and end up on Cleveland Avenue, and then you see a totally different environment, and you're like, okay, these people are forgotten. So, my whole goal was to be that voice for those who are voiceless, who don't want to rock the boat, that who may have been in the struggle a long time ago, who just said, I'm done with it. Nothing's ever going to change. And that was the main focus of it. It was to give the voice to the voiceless.
Okay. And what challenges do you face trying to create a unapologetically Black organization such as ADOS Columbus?
I think the biggest challenge is, number one, getting the ADOS folks to realize that they have a voice, and that they don't have to keep allowing themselves to be used for political gain. And then it's okay to want something different and not so much just be a loyalist. I think sometimes, and even when I was out, knocking on doors for candidates, it seems that uh, black people sometimes are loyal to the skin color,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not loyal to actual policies getting pushed because they see a black face, and they're like, well, I'm not going to go vote for this person over here because this person is black and we already have it. It's kind of like we have our politics, and we look at politics the exact same way we look at the world. Like, it's us against everybody else. So when we get somebody in office, we want to keep them there even though they may not be the best thing for us. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge that I've had, was just getting people to think critically and open up and really think that, hey, you know what, it might be time for a change.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And a lot of our neighborhoods, and of course, the boomers class hold most of the wealth in these neighborhoods that I know you campaign in a few, and they are really hesitant against that type of change. And how do you combat that? Like, when you're trying to, offer them something like, the ADOS movement?
Well, you got to get them to to really, just have a conversation with them. What I've noticed is really just going out and just talking to them, and just seeing what it is that they want to see that's different, and then
Mm-hmm.
offering up an alternative. Um, a lot of times, it's power and influence, right? If somebody's been in office forever and they don't want to change that, so they don't want to rock the boat.
Mm-hmm.
So there's also getting them to not look at the news, not pay attention to what's going on CNN and Fox News and MSNBC, and really just step outside of your door and say, okay, is anything around you changing? And you've been living here for 20, 30 plus years. Is anything in your area getting any better? And if the answer is no, then why are you allowing yourself to be used to keep it the way it is? Um, that is probably the hardest conversation I have with people, is to get them to think critically, and to not just be the token vote for a political party, no matter whether it's a Republican or a Democrat. Just, hey, you know, it's time for fresh ideas. If not always, I'm a firm believer in the definition of insanity is continue doing the same thing, expecting a
Right.
different result. So if you keep getting the same result
Right.
and there's nothing changing, then it's time for a change. And then the other challenge is when it comes to the younger folks, is getting them to be the change.
Right.
We complain, we're so pessimistic as a group, and but we don't want to do anything to change that. We can sit up and complain about things are not getting better, but when it's time to go vote, we don't show up. So,
Right.
so it's kind of like a double-edged sword. So you got people who are loyalists and you got people that don't do anything at all. And then it's like, okay, how can I kind of bridge that gap? So how can I kind
Right.
of play both sides? So that's what the challenge is really at.
My next question is, what are some of the successes that you've seen with ADOS Columbus, or achieved in this first year?
I think for us was getting, helping out Stephanie Mingo get elected back to a judgeship when the Democratic Party was trying to put one over on us. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the successes that we've had is really we've been able to get candidates that come to our meetings, and we get to vet them the way they're supposed to be vetted, and then turn around and either lend support or not lend support. and then get out in the community and do something. I think, you know, the articles getting written about the movement in the area is getting people, getting people involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much, we're still growing. I think the numbers will come. You and I talk all the time about growing the numbers and getting bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I think recruiting more people and doing more things in the community is only going to continue to grow. And we've been at this for almost a year. We're about to have our 1 year anniversary
Right.
as a chapter coming up in May, and
Right.
I always think about you know us meeting at Donato's Pizza for the very first time, and it
Right.
was like six of us,
Mm-hmm.
and we not even really knowing what we had planned on doing,
Right.
and now here we are a year later, and we've been able to do a lot of good things. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I think the best is yet to come. I'm excited about things. I mean, this COVID-19 situation has kind of put a little hamper on some things, but hopefully on Tuesday we see some things happen, and you know, nothing else. We'll continue to fight. We'll continue to look towards the next election cycle, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully some of us inside the movement and run for office and get elected into office as well.
Okay. And
Hello?
yeah.
Yes, with Judge Mingo being positioned with our assistants, has a means of observing her performance in regards to our needs been assessed or addressed? In your opinion, how is she doing so far?
I actually love what she's doing at the Franklin County judgeship, especially right now with the way the eviction rates are going. If anybody knows what Judge Mingo does, she sits in the court where people come with small claims to either get people evicted out, or the city wants to fine folks for like code violations or whatever.
Is
Well,
it environmental judge or
yeah,
something?
she's an environmental judge, and what she's been able to do with limited resources from the county is been able to get people resources out there. She has a on her website. She's putting, like, if you need a handyman for something, she's giving people an opportunity to go out and fix those issues before the county decides they want to fine them. And she's not fining people right now. You know what I'm saying? She understands that people um don't have money to be fixing the stuff that some of these people are trying to get them to fix. So she looks for other resources out there. Um, I once we're able to be back out and walking around like we're supposed to, I plan on going to sit in her courtroom and observe her firsthand to see exactly what she's going to be doing upcoming, because she still has to run again. I mean, she won a special election, so she's got to run again. And but she's been out. She's been working with the getting people's records expunged. She did a whole expungement class on a Saturday at one of the community centers off East Long Street. She was there the whole entire day, helping people write up the people coming in with misdemeanors and stuff like that to get those records expunged off their record. So she's been doing a lot of stuff in the community, and we need more judges like that are on the judgeship, that are saying, okay, you may have made a mistake, but we're not going to allow that to keep hampering you. And these are like nonviolent people. Some of them were felony charges that were nonviolent, and these people have been able to get their records expunged. So yeah, kudos to Judge Stephanie Mingo for what she's doing in the city of Columbus, because we need we need judges like that. And I think because we were able to have her come out and talk to us about what she does was a big reason. And it doesn't even matter what her political affiliation is. It's like, okay, are you there for Black people? If
Yeah,
the answer is yes, then you get some support.
yeah, I like the way you presented her because I had no idea what her political affiliation was, which was good. I just, when she came in, she told us what her plan was to do, what she's been doing, how she's trying to, save the Black community and keeping them in their homes. And I was like, okay, that sounds like something I could support. That's it wasn't until later, and she, we worked side by side with her. It wasn't until later that, okay, she's conservative. Okay. Well, conservatives have good ideas, and conservatives do fight for the Black community. Yeah. We're just so brainwashed that they're not, that you don't even give them a chance.
Yeah, exactly. And that was kind of the main reason why I didn't give her political affiliation when we met, because I already knew that she was a Republican, and I was like, okay, I just want people to be open-minded, and I'm an independent, and I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. So I'm one of the people who, I don't care what political affiliation you have. Are you working for Black people? And if you're going to work for Black people, then I can put aside your political leanings, because your work is going to speak for itself. So if I would have came in there and stood out and said, okay, well, she's a Republican judge, y'all would have been like, hell no. Like we ain't trying to hear nothing she got to say. And I wasn't trying to have everybody already have a bias without hearing her platform first. And I think, her platform spoke highly of what she wanted to do. And, of course, I got a little backlash when she got elected. A lot of people kind of came at me like, oh, we told y'all Trump supporters and all that other stuff. But I'm like, hey, if y'all know what she does in the community, then you know that who she's voting for ain't got nothing to do with what her work on the street is. So,
and I really liked our support of her, mainly because it's steadfast on the idea that we're out for people that are out for policies for us, irregardless of their affiliation. So that really rang true, and I hope we can continue to do that in the future.
Yes. Hopefully, that's what I plan on doing. Hopefully, that's the goal of ADOS Columbus is give everybody an opportunity to come talk. And regardless of political affiliation, like, do you want to do something for the descendants of slaves here in Columbus? And if the answer is yes, then we can lend you support. If the answer is no, then you get to step in. But we have to, I think for us as a people, we should be, our vote should not be tied to an ideology of politics. It should be tied to ideology of policy. What is it? What's in it for us? You know what I'm saying? What's in it for our communities? And if we don't do that, if we don't advocate like that, we continue getting policies the way we get them now, which are people of color, communities of color, etc. And we always getting the back end of the scraps at the end. So
okay, and a good part of this year, we've had to defend ourselves as descendants of slavery, or defining ourselves as descendants of slavery. We had to defend that. Why do you feel other people or the diaspora cause that divisive when you're defining yourself as they so often do?
I think it kind of falls back on that people of color and communities of color narrative. It's to put us, it's to kind of paint us with one stroke on a brush, right? It's to say, everybody, regardless of how you got here, we all deal with the same exact stuff. It's kind of like right now with the Asian community dealing with the backlash of COVID-19, and they just dealing with a little bit of racism and discrimination. And it's like people trying to compare what they're dealing with right now to what our communities have been dealing with for centuries. And to me, I think it's a dishonest conversation to say, okay, well, we can't define ourselves because our experience is different. Which we should be able to define ourselves. We're the only part of the diaspora that doesn't get the ability to define ourselves based on our origin nor our ancestry. So it's okay for someone from Nigeria to come to the United States or be an American and have Nigerian roots and say that they're Nigerian American. It's okay for someone to come from Jamaica or have Jamaican roots and say, okay, I'm a Jamaican American. But we don't get to define ourselves. We have to either be African American or we have to be people of color. And it's like, well, we are, of African ancestry, true, but Africa is a country. So we're attaching ourselves to the continent and not to actual particular country, and where we should be attaching ourselves to the lineage of slavery, because that's where what we come from. So, I think it's, and our experience is different. Our experience is different. Our people have had to deal with a lot more here in this country when it comes to implicit bias, discrimination, segregation, racism, all those things. Our ancestors have had to deal with all of that. So we are the descendants of that. So we should be able to label ourselves as such to categorize our actual individual experiences here in the United States, because they're completely separate from what other people throughout the diaspora have to deal with. They deal with the skin color, and most of them don't recognize themselves. They didn't even know they were black until they came to the United States, right? So they never had to deal with their blackness as a skin color. They had to deal with their tribalness. So we don't have a tribe. Our tribe is descendants of slaves. So that's where I think that a lot of it comes from, and we've been defending that narrative that we have a unique identity that is separate from everybody else in the diaspora, that needs to be, on the same playing field, pretty much.
Okay. Okay. And this probably should have came a little earlier, but are you surprised at how much you've had to fight Democrats to get things done, changed locally and nationally? I guess that question is really for me, because I was shocked at, fighting along the side of you, trying to get candidates, trying to get some initiatives, on the table. The person across from you that you're fighting is Democrat. And I don't think Black people realize, to get a lot of things done in these cities, you're going to have to fight with Democrats. Were you surprised about that?
Actually, not so much, because I like I said, I came from an area that was like pretty much Democratic, and so what I will say is that, being on the outside and not actually being in a fight, you don't really realize the amount of doors get shut on your face when you're dealing with Democrats, and it's like they what they put out on TV and what they do as far as like the media is like a completely different way that they deal with you behind closed doors. And you've seen that as we've been out here talking to these candidates. It's like trying to get them to commit to a actual policy is like pulling teeth. It's like it's like one of the hardest things to do. And then, and most of the time they look just like you. And you sit up there looking at them, and you like, what are you talking about? Like, why can't we get this done? They want to give you excuses as to why they can't get things done. And then you hear radio ads where they're saying, I'm fighting for you, I'm fighting. And you're like, what? Like, wait a minute. I was just on a town hall with you. I was just I was just sitting down asking you questions, and you basically just told me that you couldn't do anything. But now you want to get on TV and say that you're doing all this fighting. Like, who are you fighting for? And it's probably the most frustrating thing, because you would think that the people who claim that they are doing the most for you would be the ones that you could actually get the most out of, and it's quite opposite. And I think I didn't realize that until I really started getting into politics and started actually advocating for stuff, that I saw that, and they really kind of turned me off to a lot of these Democrats, because I think that they utilize our community's lack of political advocacy as a weapon against us. And if you don't know what's going on, then you just pretty much you just go along with anything.
Right. All right. Well, Daoud, you're up.
Do you have any plans on running for a political office? If so, will you be planning on launching a bid on the local, state, or national stage?
My wife been asking me the same thing, actually. I have always had aspirations to run for office, and I think it started probably about 10, 12 years ago. Um, at what level, at what capacity, I don't know yet. And I don't even know if it's going to be here in this area or maybe back in my home state. I don't know. Um, but what I do want to do is I actually want to, you know, get more involved politically somewhere. The challenge that I have is being an independent. Is You know, a lot of people look at independence as, you know, you're a cipher vote, right? You're ciphering away from a particular party, and could a third party person win? You know, because you're limited on resources, you're limited on the support from either party, and then you're running straight down the middle, and it's how can you know on some things I'm liberal on some things I'm conservative on, and it's kind of like I'm in the middle. So I'm trying to just really trying to figure out if it would be even worth my while to do it or just continue to do what I'm doing, because I can't see myself affiliated with either party,
Right.
and that's the challenge that I have is I don't want to be a hypocrite, you know, and I'm just not going to just like say, okay, well, I'm gonna be a Democrat because it's easy for me to, as a black man, to be a Democrat and go run on a Democratic ticket, and then here I am, I've been saying I'm gonna be fighting for you. Next thing you know, some people start putting money in my pocket, and I'm like, okay, I can't vote on this no more. I want to be able to have. I don't want to end up like the guy, Representative Vernon Jones down in Georgia, that just
Right.
got ousted out of the Democratic Party because he decided he was going to vote for Trump. You
I
know,
saw.
yeah, and what he said was true. If like, you know, 97% of black people vote Democrats, and yet and still they are getting the short end of the stick from the party, and he was tired of having to try to defend that. You know what I'm saying? So that means that he was getting some pressure from some black folks down there about, okay, bro, what you doing?
Mm-hmm.
And he had a breaking point. He was like, I can't do this no more. I can't lie like this no more. I cannot do this no more.
Right.
And so I don't want to be that person. So I know I kind of went off the little rails a little bit, Daoud, but
No,
I,
no, no. Go ahead.
yeah, I thought about running for Congress at one point. I don't know whether it be like a state rep or something. Who knows? You know, I'm gonna look at this 2020 election. 2022 is probably when I make a decision. Well, 2021, late 2021, probably be when I make a decision on what I want to run for. And if I'm still up here in Ohio, which I plan on being, I'll probably start at something local, maybe city council or something. Who knows?
All right. How have your efforts gone with regards to the ADOS lineage movement's Project Takeover efforts that was launched in October of 2019? What are its
um,
challenges and how do you plan on overcoming the challenges?
I think for Project Takeover is really, I think it's twofold. We got to get rid of the old gate guard, the old gatekeepers, and it's got to be an insurgent of new minds put into it. But that requires more than just the people that we have in the ADOS movement to do it. It's going to take a collective effort of us getting more people to get involved politically to take over these institutions, right? Like the NAACP, like the Urban League, like, you know, 100 Black Men of America, like all these organizations that are supposed to be civil rights organizations. Um, I think it also takes us looking in the mirror when it comes to our pastors, our school systems. It takes us looking in the mirror and saying, okay, are we actually helping or are we enabling? You know, and it also requires a lot of time, and that's something that we don't have, you know,
Right.
because this advocacy stuff is time consuming. It's time consuming. It's expensive, uh, and you know it gets frustrating. And then some people, especially like with Black folks, we have a now mentality. Everything has to be now, so we can't. We're not forward thinking and looking at things 2 to 3 years down the road strategically. We want everything to happen like if I go out here and I go campaign and I'm out here with a sign and picketing, I want something to change now. And if it don't change now, then I get pissed off and then I go away. So I think with Project Takeover, it's gonna require a different mindset. It's going to require a lot of discipline of the mind and of the movement to continue to press forward and not get so sidetracked on things that don't really make any sense to me. Um, so I think um, in order for it to work, we have to stay the course, and we can't be the news cycle. We can't do that in politics no more. So
Mm.
so especially here in Columbus. We gotta we gotta continue on. And I think here in Columbus is a little different because you got a lot of people here that are tired of the same old same old. And I think with the mayor, particularly when it came to the police chief hiring, I think a lot of people got pissed off with that.
Mhm.
And for a while there were no crime, there were no police involved shootings going on in Columbus, and as soon as he got that interim tag taken off his name, all of a sudden here come all these shootings again. So
Mm.
is how can you take that energy of the frustration of the people and get them to galvanize and stay committed to what we're doing? That is the biggest, that to me is going to be the biggest challenge, and it's going to ultimately decide how successful the Project Takeover aspect is.
All right. And in your latest article that you wrote in Medium entitled "Dear Black People, You Don't Have the Protections of White Supremacy," you wrote about the protest that's happening right now in reopening the states, basically. You encourage Black people, to stay out of it, stay home. What my question is, how do you balance exercising your rights and also trusting an untrustworthy government, basically?
Ooh. That is a I think when I wrote that article, I really was looking at um the whole mindset of going out here with people who don't care about you. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Right.
And it's like, okay, uh, this is not our fight. Let them go out here and go be go raise tyranny. And the reason why is because we don't have that protection, meaning that if you get caught out there doing something crazy, the chances of you surviving the way that they were going to survive is not going to be the same, right?
Mhm.
And um, I looked at it and I tweeted out a few days ago. I was like, I wonder what would happen if a bunch of black men showed up at the Capitol building with AR-15s demanding reparations. Would there be SWAT? You know what I'm saying? And to
Mhm.
get people to realize that what these people were doing, uh, it's all right to protest. You know what I'm saying? That's part of the First Amendment rights to go out and you can assemble and protest or whatever. But these people had weapons on the Capitol steps, right? And the last time that black men did that was the doing the Panther movement, and the whole Second Amendment changed for as far as how people went about having weapons at a Capitol building or any government building. They changed their laws because of it. So I was like, what is different? What is so different about what they're fighting for? What they're fighting to get the government reopened. And me and Dawg, we talked about this, and I asked him, I was like, what was the reasoning? Do you think that people were doing it? Which I have no problem with. People want to go back to work. They're struggling. Some of these folks think that it's a conspiracy, that this coronavirus stuff is not real. And for black folks, because we don't have the protections of white supremacy, because we don't have the protection of good health care insurance, because we don't have the protections of you know of of being able to go to the doctor and get screened properly, because we don't have those protections, we cannot be following up these folks down these roads, and fighting the battle with them, because all they want to do is get the government. They want you back to work. A lot of these people are business owners. They care about their bottom dollar. The state of Georgia, they don't want to pay out unemployment insurance because the numbers are so high. So if I ain't got to pay out unemployment insurance and I can get you to go back to work, then guess what? I can now. It's not about the economy on the front end. It's about everything on the back end. They don't want us. They don't want to take care of us. So that's why the lieutenant governor of Texas said, hey, some people gonna have to die
Mm-hmm.
in order for us to start back up. So they're willing to sacrifice you as a people for their greater good. And their greater good is to re-energize and keep the stock market going and 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 keep white elitism in his present state and elevate it. So they're gonna sacrifice people. And who are the people that get sacrificed? Bunch of black folks. That's
Right.
why I mean, there's no coincidence that the percentage of African Americans that are dying from COVID is represents every other disparity that we have. It's directly tied to everything else that we fighting for. So that's why I kind of wrote that article. It was kind of like, hey, don't get caught up in this stuff. And last night I saw people in Chicago partying at a house party at at an Airbnb. Like, come on, black people. Like like if you go to the hospital today and you don't have proper healthcare insurance, you're probably gonna die from COVID. You know what I'm saying? And so, do you want your grandparents doing a GoFundMe right now to try to pay for this? Like, just be smart when you're doing these things. Don't be fighting these white folks battles for them. Let them go out there and die. And you stay at home and keep yourself and your family safe because we don't have those protections. We can't be out here fighting like that. You end up getting tear gassed and tear bombed and all that stuff.
Okay.
So
What is your stance, response, and guidance on how blacks are disproportionately being criminalized for not perfectly following quarantine guidelines, while whites violate them with impunity, which stems from your elaborations on the previous question?
oh, that's the thing is we look at these orders, right? We see these stay at place orders, and white folks going out, nothing happening to them. Black folk, you get caught. We had even people that had masks on at Walmart that got sent home. Like like that is kind of the issue that we have, and it's like, okay, if we're gonna fight for something, if we're gonna be out here fighting, it shouldn't be to fight to open the government back up. It should be, okay, we're we're gonna fight for the disparities in healthcare right now. We're gonna fight for proper testing to come to our neighborhoods because we don't know how many people in our neighborhoods are being affected by COVID. Nor do we know that the numbers that they're reporting are accurate. We should be fighting for a stimulus money for our black businesses in our neighborhoods to be able to thrive. We should be fighting for more for that stuff, not fighting with people on the Capitol steps talking about, me being at home, I can't get my hair done. Like that like you know what I'm saying? We have to be smart because, when we go out here, we violate the order, you're getting arrested. And it's not because of anything no other than because you black. So we have to be smart about what we're fighting for, and everything that we fight for should be race based. It should be race based, and we should be specific about what we're fighting for and make sure that it's race based.
Mhm.
So we should be driving that narrative home every single day, every single time we put something online or talk to our people. We should be fighting for something race based, and to the point where white people get tired of black people saying it's race based. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And they're like, okay, we're tired of them talking about this race based stuff because right now you see some politicians are starting to talk about race based specific stuff.
That's
Right.
right.
And this is probably the first time that we've probably had people start talking about these disparities in healthcare and all this. But then you got these gatekeepers, black folk gatekeepers out there telling us, hey, well, maybe if you don't eat pork or change your diet, like we can't be doing the bidding for white supremacy. We can't. We can't.
Right.
We have to make them understand that it's their fault that all this stuff is going on. You want to know why black folks got a disparity in healthcare? Because of slavery. You want to know
Mhm.
why we're down at a high rate because of slavery.
Right.
Everything is
Right.
because of slavery. It's because of slavery and Jim Crow. And you all are the we're not the problem. You all were the problem. And so what are you going to do to fix all this stuff? So
Right.
Perfect lead into my next set of questions. What is your stance, response, and guidance on how Blacks have been redlined and zoned into environmentally polluted locations, making us even more susceptible to death stats as it relates to the coronavirus?
I think that um there needs to be, we need, right, as you know, as we in this fight, we should be fighting for the data to come out. And we should want the CDC and, you know, the World Health Organization and any other agency, whether it's the Surgeon General's office or, you know, whatever commission on equality, they should be doing these studies, and they should tie it back, you know, tie it back um, to the race, and then when they're tying it back, okay, so because of systematic redlining, we see these are hot pockets. The opportunity zone shouldn't be a cash grab for a white elitist to come in and buy up a bunch of stuff. Right now, it should be about empowering it economically, getting us whole, because they put us there. You know what I'm saying? I
Hmm.
mean, Flint still doesn't have clean water.
Mm-hmm.
That's a
Yes.
problem, and the people of Flint should be able to sue the federal government because of it. And
Right.
and the thing is that, you know, things don't start to change until lawsuits start happening. But the issue is that we don't have people that are willing to work pro bono, you know, to help these causes. And I
Right.
think that there should be lawsuits coming out of this. There should be, um, you know, um, if it was a high concentrated area of COVID in a black community and there's no testing going on because there's no hospitals there, then guess what? Those people need to be suing the cities because they control land development and say, okay, we can't. There's no hospitals in our area, so we don't get proper testing over here. So they should be suing the cities. There should be multiple class action lawsuits all over the country going on right now, as far as black folks are. And when we and that's how we're going to win cases. Is that's how we're going to get stuff, because if we can sit up there and think that these people are going to give us reparations without law having to be applied, then we kidding ourselves. We're kidding ourselves. You know, I mean, it took them, you know, when it came to COVID-19, they gave out a stimulus check to everybody, right? No study.
Mm-mm.
There was no study required. There was no historical data they had to go back and research. They just started cutting checks, right? Within 3 weeks. Within 3 weeks. And this was bipartisanship, right? So this is why I think that we have to advocate on both sides of the aisle. We got to be going at these Republicans just like we're going at these Democrats, right? Um, we can't talk to Karen Bass and Maxine Waters without talking to Steve Stivers and Jim Johnson, right? We gotta do both. And the reason why we gotta do both, because no bills get passed one way. There has never been a bill that's passed on one side and just went straight down party lines and that was it. Besides, um, freaking the Obamacare. That's because they had a super majority. So if we want things to get passed, it's going to be done in a bipartisan fashion. So we have to be able to go to, no matter who the congressperson is, no matter who the senator is, and talk to them about these issues and be on their neck about it and be vocal. And then we have to build a coalition of people that don't just look like us to help us fight with us, because it's not enough black people in the struggle, in the fight to push policy. We're gonna need white folks. We're gonna need Asians. We're gonna need everybody. We're gonna need every aspect of the rainbow to help us out in this fight. And we can't sit around and think that we can do this by ourselves. We're kidding ourselves, because if we had the ability to do it, it would have already been done. So, and history, one thing black folks don't like to learn from is our history, and we keep repeating it over and over again. So we need to build coalitions of people that can fight with us.
Is
And,
it? I
go
mean,
ahead.
is it that we need a coalition because not enough ADOS or Black, African American, whatever you want to call yourselves, um, sit on the sidelines? Like they'll watch other people fight. The 10 people that show up, they'll watch everybody else fight, and it's not enough. We need more Will we need a coalition if more Black people got involved?
And I think that yes, we probably still would need a bigger coalition, only because when it came to what I just saw what happened with the coronavirus is that you had people from every part of the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Every nationality was like, hey, we need think about the Hispanic caucus and what the Asia Pacific Island caucus was doing and the Black caucus was doing. Like everybody was up there like, yo, we need this stuff. And then you had people that were in rural America who were saying, hey, we ain't got no workers. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, this is going on. So everybody was fighting. So when all that pressure went to Washington, D.C., both Democrats and Republicans were like, okay, let's sit down and talk. What can we do? Let's give some money. Let's see if we can get a stimulus done. And they got it done because they got pressure from all angles. So
Mm-hmm.
if Black people, right now the Black caucus represents about 55 House of Representatives, somewhere around there, about 50-55, right? There's over 400 people in Congress as far as House of Representatives. 55 is only 8%. You know, that's 1/8 of the caucus. That's 1/8 of the people that's sitting in there. So that's not a big number. So because the Democrats got the full majority, well, they got a majority. They got over 218 Democrats. There's 235 of them in there actually. Then all 235 need to be getting this smoke. You know what I'm saying? And then the other 140, 50 people that are in there from the Republican side need to be catching it too. But the thing is that we look at one particular party, and that's why I think that the loyalty for Black folks is skewed. You know what I'm saying? It's like we're in a bad relationship, but we don't realize it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like we've been getting cheated on and cheated on and everything else, and we just stay with the person, right? That's the kind of relationship we got with the Democratic Party. We just like we have been getting beat and everything else, and we stay loyal. So,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to be able to expand ourselves out. And I think that's where those coalitions come at because, you know, inequality happens in every community. We just got to be wise about it. And one of the things that Fred Hampton, before he died, you know, one of the biggest things that Fred Hampton was trying to do with the Black Panther Party was trying to bring in those rural white folks who were dealing with poverty the exact same way that the Black people were dealing with it in urban city Chicago. So I think that we have to go back to that train of thought and say, okay, well, if they were doing it, and I can build a coalition and say, okay, y'all poor, we poor. Y'all got inequality, we got inequality. But we need ours first. Because if we get ours, then it's gonna help y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because make no mistake about it, if you take care of Black people, everybody else gonna get taken care of, right? It's just kind of like, you know, everybody else is gonna get a piece of their pie. That's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to get them to understand that, you know what I'm saying? That, you know, we all in this together. And so if we all collectively can push an agenda, then everybody can benefit from it. So, you know, I Black folks don't like to come off the sidelines though. And that's the thing. We complain a lot, but we don't put action behind our complaints. And that, I think that is one of the biggest problems I see with ADOS moving forward as a movement is getting people off the sidelines. It's like, okay, you can sit on Twitter. You can sit on, okay, Twitter is a good way to get your word out. But what are you doing on the ground? You gotta, you know, you gotta get some skin in the game out here. You know what I'm saying? You gotta be out here fighting. Like, you gotta be willing to go meet with some folks, like, or have a conversation, not just tweet. Like, cause anybody can sit behind an avatar. You know what I'm saying? Like, go show your face. You know what I'm saying? Like, Joyce Beatty, you know, she can sit up there and have commercials. It's a whole different ball game when you standing in front of 100 people in your face. You know,
Right.
that conversation changes wholly completely when people are angry and they in your face, and you got to run up out the building. You know, your security running you out the building. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole different environment then. You know, but if you can sit behind your screen and do it on Facebook, it's a safer environment because then you can say whatever you want to say, and there's nothing genuine about that. You know what I'm saying? So I think that, you know, moving forward, that's what we have to do. We have to build coalitions and have allies and say, okay, what this is what we want. We want reparations. We want reparations. We want a black agenda. What do y'all want? Okay, if y'all help us, we can help y'all, and vice versa. But we have to be forward thinking in that. You know what I'm saying?
All right.
The essence of my question dealt with environmental racism, and I thank you for handling that in the first portion of your response. And I really like where you went to in the rest of your response. But continuing on with the environmental racism aspect, how are we expected to remain quarantined in homes that have been proven to be environmental hazards, exacerbating our other existing health issues blacks may be experiencing and are likely to be enduring during this period of quarantine that we've been going through for decades? So, along with the president's relaxing of environmental regulations and thus government responsibilities, what is your stance, response, and guidance on navigating through this very hazardous reality that too many of our people face and nobody's speaking to?
Yeah, nah, that part is very, very tough, right? Because I wrote an article that said stay at home, right? And then I'm telling people to stay I'm telling people to stay in an environment that's already unsafe. Yeah,
That's why some people were willing to go out into the streets and say something about that, because that message is not being sent. But we get
yeah,
these images of white racists with their guns and stuff as though that is what it's all about. But when there's several movements out there trying to gain a voice, at least there's some people, also white, who believe that blacks are being placed in an environmentally hazardous situations because of the quarantine, when the government should be doing more to protect them.
yeah. I think when it comes to environmental racism, right? We uh because I was the one to say stay at home, stay at home, stay at home, and then you look at, well, I can't stay at home because look what I'm living in, and I think that in that we have to be. I think quite possibly we could probably be strategic about how we do it, right? Um, what if people said, okay, these conditions are so bad, but social media is so powerful, right? And you highlight these things. You go outside and say, look what I'm living in. Look at this area. Look at these conditions. And this is what the government wants me to stay at home for. Before you know it, millions of people can see that, right? But you got to have the right people to do it. And you say, okay, a movement like ADOS, okay, we got ADOS Columbus. And you say, okay, I may not be a member of ADOS Columbus, but I agree with the fact that environmental racism is bad. So I'm gonna reach out to ADOS Columbus and say, hey, do y'all have the ability to highlight the conditions that are going on in my community? Yes, we do. Can we get it out there to the masses? Yes, we can. And you utilize you utilize, this is where the gatekeepers come in. This is where the NAACP comes in, the Urban League, and all these other things. We gotta be able to get on the phone with them and say, hey, y'all need to come out to my neighborhood. We need this to be highlighted. You know, it might be calling the news. It might be, staging a protest in your own neighborhood. Not, you know what I'm saying? Because if you go to the Capitol buildings, right, and you do it at the Capitol buildings, you're going to get drowned out by everything else that's out there. And they're going to focus on what they want to focus on. They're going to focus on the white folks up there dressed like they get ready for the Boston Tea Party with masks on their face, get ready to rob a bank or something, right? They're going to focus on that because that's the story. So they don't see the young black group in the back with the picket sign saying, my neighborhood is crumbling because we ain't got proper water and y'all poisoning us. Your voice gets diminished because you're in a sea of a bunch of other stuff. And news cycles, they run to the story that they think can get the most views, not the story that needs to be highlighted. So I think that we have to be able to tell our own stories from our environments and then bring the news to us. So if you got 100 black people and they pissed off because they want the government to reopen, guess what? Instead of going to the city council building and doing it, how about doing it in your own neighborhood? And I guarantee you some things will start to change. Because if you say, hey, there's 100 black folks marching around East Linden and they saying that the environment is bad, that's a news story. because you already know what's gonna happen. The cops are gonna show up. The cops are going to be there, so it's going to be a news story. So it may change the whole entire conversation. You know, it may turn a negative into a positive, and then it actually gets highlighted versus whatever. And then we got to figure out who's in charge of this stuff, right? We got to figure out, okay, is it the city? Is it the state? Is it the national government? Who's in charge of our environment, like where we live at, and bring the heat to them. Because a lot of these committees, a lot of these things are getting done behind our backs, and we don't know who to. You know, it's one thing to go protest. It's one thing to go protest, and then there's another thing to know who to go protest to. So, you know, if I'm going to the mayor's office thinking that I should be protesting him when I should be protesting my state representative, then I'm in the wrong spot.
Yep.
And then all these state reps, we know where they stay at. Their addresses are on their websites. They have to list where they live at when they elected. How about showing? Hey, they did it in, I think it was in Iowa. The people were protesting the little white lady that got arrested at the park. They went to the cop's house. They was out there picketing it for, hey, take the heat to them. You know what I'm saying? Take it to the mansions. Take it to their nice houses and stand outside of their houses and bother the hell out of them.
Well, sounds like you've. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, it sounds like you voiced a really good approach to doing it strategically that ADOS Columbus can take advantage of. Lastly, what does the future hold for ADOS nationally and locally?
Okay, so I'll address the locally first, and then I'll come back to the nationally. Locally, I think for us is this upcoming primary, which is on Tuesday, to see the results of that, and then the November election of this year. Then I think for us is these next few months are going to be critical for us to reorganize, get bigger, and then focus on 2022's midterms. Because I think that's when Columbus gets the few more seats on the city council. That's when the mayor will be back up for election again, and a lot of things can happen in between that time period. So I think for us is to continue going down the road that we can and try to build more people into our movement, and getting Black people off the couch, you know what I'm saying? And then, to elevate, articles of ADOS podcasts, and, to get more articles in the Dispatch, and, maybe the New York Times, and every other avenue that we can get to get our word out there. And maybe, maybe doing some stuff with the news stations here, the NBC4s, the ABCs and all that stuff to highlight the things that we're doing here. On a national standpoint, I think it's critical for the movement that it don't turn into Black Lives Matter 2.0.
Totally agree.
And I know I'm probably gonna piss off a lot of people when I say that nationally.
You won't be alone. It's okay.
And the reason why I say that is because this 2020 election is really gonna determine the power of the movement going forward. And because if Biden can get elected, which everybody has anticipated that he probably would get elected as president, it's really going to set a precedence for Black people and how we vote and moving forward, and to see the numbers as they come out. Because right now, Biden hasn't offered up anything to Black people on any front. And I think a lot of these white politicians they fall behind criminal justice reform as if that is a race-based policy specifically for Black people, and that's the only thing they want to talk about. You know what I'm saying? It's a safety net. Okay, well, why is it a safety net? It's because Black folks are disproportionately arrested and incarcerated at rates higher than any other minority group in the country. So it's easy for you to come out and say, well, I'm gonna do something for criminal justice reform because is that. But we see during COVID that Black folks are getting released from prisons at a record rate right now, and it's happening all over the country, and it's happening more in red states than anything else right now. They're just letting Black folks go, and giving them alternatives to finishing out their sentences, whether it's house arrest or halfway houses or anything. And it's showing that it's having a profound good effect, right?
Yes,
You know,
exactly. Yes, I read
so
a report on that as well.
yeah, so these things are positive impacts in our community. And so you can't keep running on criminal justice reform if you don't have nobody to reform that's in the criminal justice system. So you're gonna have to come up with something else. And it can't be just, okay, we want to see you want to see a black woman as the vice president. Like that does nothing for me. That does nothing for me. I could care less who the VP is because they really don't have a voice at anything anyway. So if we are still going to allow ourselves to be used as tokens, and that's what we're on, then we're in trouble. So from a national standpoint, it has to be about the next steps as far as politics, not just policy, and then it just can't be about, you know, talking about what celebrity is doing a show or something. You know what I'm saying? Everybody understands the decadent veil. We understand that, you know, celebrity worship is bad for the black community, but we can't get bottled down with our thought process that that's the only thing that we should be focusing on. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on that we should be focusing on, and the election is that, because how this election pans out is going to determine what ADOS moving forward looks like nationally, because you may have a lot of people that'll leave the movement because they get fed up. And like I said earlier, black folks, we live in a now generation. We live in a now state. So if people don't see things happening now, people are going to get turned off to that. You can't keep black people motivated for too long without seeing significant change happen, without them seeing a path moving forward. So I think it's critical for all chapter leaders across the country who have chapters is for us to be able to get together and say, okay, what do we want to do? How do we want to move forward nationally with a national message that resonates with people all over the country? It got to be, you know, and while simultaneously allowing us to remain autonomous to each other, so that way we don't fall up under some type of hierarchy structure. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens here in Columbus might be completely different what happens in Dallas or Houston or Los Angeles. It's a different politics. You can't have a one size fit all, but we all can have we all can agree on, you know, key items. You know what I'm saying? Okay, we need to be fighting for this. You know, we need to stay on message. We need to stay on code. You know what I'm saying? The branding of reparations. That should be we should be beating that drum. Everything else can go away, and we got to stop infighting. You know what I'm saying? We have to stop. We it's not enough of us as it is that are politically charged up, and you can't keep going after people because they don't agree with you 100%. Nothing is absolute, and nobody gonna agree with you 100% of the time. So you have to find ways to bridge gaps, and utilize people for what they are utilized for. If you got a platform and your platform gets 100,000 people and my platform gets 20,000, well, I gotta find a way to bridge a gap so I can get your 100,000 people to listen to my my message too, so it can resonate with them. And I think that's vice versa. I think everybody has a part to play in this, and I think that people are looking for people to lead that are not leaders, and we can't do that. We just got to keep moving forward. And every idea, you have to, you can't have an idea and then it gets shot down, and then people get frustrated because everybody has a voice, and everybody may have a different way of doing things. So you can't have like I said, you can't have a one size fits all. I think that's what we can't, and then we can't have servant and Messiah leadership either. We don't need a leader. You know what I'm saying? We don't need an MLK or a Malcolm X or Angela Davis or Fred Hampton or Huey Newton. We don't need that. What we need is a Daoud. We need a Mark. We need a Lisa. We need you know what I'm saying? We need a collection of ideas of people who can say, okay, think strategically and then move as a unit cohesively. You see what I'm saying? And I think that's the only way that ADOS is going to sustain itself and be different from everything else that's out there.
Yeah. Well, that I appreciate you finally coming and meeting with. We got the invitation out late, but before I let you go, I do want to tell people that they can follow you on Twitter at M_Stevenson78, right?
Right. Yeah, follow me on Instagram. Yeah, I'm about to have an Instagram page too. I'm about to have an Instagram page. Yeah, but Twitter is where you find me at. You know, find me on Facebook. Mark Stevenson on
Also,
Facebook.
talk about your YouTube channel.
Yeah. So I have a YouTube channel. It's called Unapologetically Black. That's black with 2 Ks, not CK. It's BLAKK. Come follow me. I usually do shows. I've been kind of lazy lately with these shows, but usually I do them on Tuesday nights. I'm about to start back up. I told my wife today I was gonna do that. So Tuesday nights at 9 o'clock is normally when I'm on. But yeah, support me, like and subscribe. Hey, like and subscribe this podcast here. I love what y'all are doing with this. Keep having people on. I see y'all done had some folks on y'all podcast. Y'all done had people across the country. I'm like, wow, they had some people on before I had them on my show. So I'm so loving this, man. I think that more people need it should be voices from all over, and so some people may think it's a grift or whatever they want to call it, grifting or whatever. I don't think it's that. I think everybody should be. If you had an opportunity to have a platform to speak about issues that affected Black folks, then do it. Call it whatever you
Definitely
call
agree.
it whatever you want to call it, because we need multiple voices in this fight. You know what I'm saying? That's the only way things get done. That's the only thing. The more people hear it, the more they see it, the more that it's in their face, the more they're going to do something. So thank y'all. I thank y'all for having me on.
Yeah, I do want to invite
sir.
to come out to well, not right now, we're quarantined, so our meetings are done on what do you call that, Uber conferences?
Yeah, Uber conference. Yeah, Uber conference.
So we do electronic meetings. I don't know what you call those, but our
virtual meetups.
Right, virtual meetups. Right now, once on the fourth Sunday. So we got one later today, in a few minutes actually. And so we invite everybody that's listening, if you're in the Columbus area, to connect with ADOS Ohio on Facebook, connect with our ADOS Columbus Facebook page. Once you do that, then we'll always keep that information going, so you know when we do come back face-to-face in a face-to-face meeting.
Yep.
All right. So thank you, and I'll see you guys in a minute on our ADOS Columbus meeting.
All right. Thanks for having me.
All right.
Goodbye.
Thank you for coming.